So hi, I'm Steve Richardson, and this is the October 2017 episode of Lunch with a Lawyer. And hopefully you've put down your sandwich or your lunch for a minute and turned on your phone and tuned in. Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about formulating an affordable plan for college financial aid. It's now October. I'm doing this in October because on October 1, the U.S. Department of Education released the FAFSA form for the 2018-2019 academic year. I'm sure that most of you watching this, if not all of you, know what a FAFSA form is, F-A-F-S-A. That stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. You can do it, now you can fill it out online. So, before you sit down at your computer and start filling out the form, as the saying goes, you gotta have a plan, Stan. And nobody wants to be part of the $1 trillion plus national student loan debt. And the idea here is to have a smart plan and a strategy to minimize, if not eliminate, but at least minimize the chances of your child graduating from college or you graduating from college with crushing student loan debt. So let's be smart about it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this program is mainly for high school seniors who are going to be starting college in 2018-2019, and you're in the process of choosing a school. But this information can help for students who are already in college and returning for the next academic year. So let's get started into it. The first thing is to get a list of affordable schools. You really want to you don't want to overreach. People can get into a lot of debt upon graduation by going to a very expensive school. They got accepted to it, they want to go. If this is an emotional decision, and they end up overreaching and overspending, and that can be disastrous. So start with getting an affordable school. Begin with the end in mind. Choose the school. So make a list of affordable schools. Get an idea. Obviously, you've been visiting schools or trying to get an idea of the cost. But just look right now at what at first blush is affordable. Also, as you're looking at schools, consider community college. That is a great way to save a lot of money. You choose a community college, do your first 2 years there, get an associate's degree. It's usually a lot less expensive than a four-year college. But again, be strategic about it. In choosing a community college and you're also choosing your four-year college, just make sure that the four-year college you choose will accept the credits from the community college that you attend, because you don't want to have to start all over again once you go to the four-year school. So make sure that there's some sort of partnership, some sort of handoff of the credits from the community college you're looking at to the four-year college that you want to attend ultimately and where you want to get your degree. Nobody is going to ask you where you spent the first 2 years of college. They're only going to, if they're even interested at all, they're just going to want to know where you got your four-year degree. So save some money in the first couple of years. Then fill out the FAFSA form and list those schools, especially if it's a little early in the process. But if these schools have accepted you, then the information, what's called the SAR, the Student Activity Report, will go out to that school automatically and usually electronically. And you can always add them later. So if other schools come up and you've already filled out the FAFSA and it's already gone out, you can add schools and that information can go out. Now, you've done your initial list of schools, hopefully affordable schools. You've filled out the FAFSA form and you sent it out. And the next step is to look for the best deal. Again, college and the college experience and everything can be a very emotional decision. You may want to go to your parents' alma mater. You might have become attracted to or like a particular school, and that's where you want to go. Remember, if that's affordable and you can do it, great. But if it isn't, you really should give it a second thought and look really economically and brutally at what the best deal is. Who's offering the best deal? Because you're going to get financial aid packages from these schools. They're going to look at your FAFSA form, the SAR, where you are, what your estimated family contribution is, your EFC score. I'm not going to get into that here, but that's basically how much the federal government, from the financial information you provide, believes your family can afford to contribute, and what might be available in loans and grants and things like that. So find out, you're going to get the financial aid package. Find out exactly what the cost of attendance is for that school. In the first step, we talked about just some fuzzy numbers, some estimates, but now you're in a position to get an actual cost of attendance. If you're able to get that earlier, great, but certainly here when you're evaluating their offers of financial aid. Again, and this might be your red light, your alert saying, I really can't afford this school. So look at the packages, look at the cost, and then look ultimately at a list of affordable schools. Now, after you've done that, and remember that the cost, you need to look at the cost. You need to determine if you can't afford to attend the school without borrowing money, then affordability becomes very important. So, now, you need to know the net price of the school in order to determine affordability. So, how do you calculate that? Well, first of all, you take the cost of attendance, and then this makes sure that it includes any amounts you will pay to the school directly, such as tuition fees, as well as other costs, such as living expenses, books, supplies, and transportation. Make sure you're covering everything. Thank you for the like. Appreciate that. Please join in. If you have a question, leave a comment. I'll see it. This is an interactive platform. I'd be happy to answer a question you may have on this topic. So just make sure you have all the costs. Then subtract the grant and scholarship amounts and anything in your college fund from that amount. Okay, so the school might offer scholarships. They're free money. The federal government may offer a grant. We'll get into grants in a minute. That's free money. And then, of course, any money in your college fund, you subtract that out. And then compare this figure with each of the schools you're considering to see which one offers the best bargain. Okay, how much is left? How much would you have to borrow, if anything, to attend that school? And then go with the smallest amount, because then you're going to end up borrowing the least amount of money. And you need to do that every year, but certainly it's critical in choosing the school initially. Now, how do you respond to the offer? How do you do that? Well, the U.S. Department of Education, what they recommend is go with the free money first, and that just makes sense, right? Go with what you don't have to pay back. So, free money first. The first thing to look at are grants. Okay, scholarships and grants. Again, the school offers a scholarship. They may want from an endowment they have. They may want you because of your child because of the academic record, so they may offer you some money. And there may be some money from federal government in grants, which again I will get to. So look at the free money first. This you don't have to pay back. All right, so this is a great help. Now, if you're going to be a teacher, just be aware there's something called a teach grant. Now that's great. It's a grant. It's free money, but there are strings attached. All right, you will sign an agreement saying that you agree to do certain things upon graduation. Teach in a particular district that has needs or whatever. Obviously, there's an incentive to try and get good teachers into schools by giving them a break on the cost of their education. If you don't do that, if you cut the strings on graduation, don't do what you're supposed to do, it will convert to a loan. Okay, so teach grants are great. There can be free money, but there are conditions, and you just make sure you can live with those conditions. All right. The next thing is work study. All right, now this is not entirely free money. All right, you have to work for it, but you don't have to pay it back. Okay, you're earning the money; it's going towards your education. Now, of course, every hour that you're working in work-study, you're not studying, or maybe doing some other stuff, partying, doing what college people do, college kids do. But again, it's money you don't have to pay back. It can help defray the costs of your education. So it's an important thing to consider. Next, federal student loans. Okay, I'll get into the why later, but federal student loans are what you should be looking at first. Okay. They have the most flexible repayment plans. There are forgiveness issues. I mean, all sorts of things we'll look at in a little bit. But when it comes to loans, of the federal loans, and I'm talking about the Stafford loans, the loans to the student, all right, look at the subsidized loans first. All right, take as much as you can in subsidized loans. Now, this is based on need, all right? But the great thing about subsidized loans, and what people don't realize is, let's say you take out a student loan your freshman year, okay? And you borrow the money, you pay the school, and you have an in-school deferment. You don't have to make the payments as long as you're in school at least half time. But, okay, interest is going to accrue during that in-school deferment. All right, so interest at the note rate for the loan is going to accrue while you're in school. On a subsidized loan, the federal government pays the interest. So in effect, what you borrowed your freshman year will be the same amount you have to pay back when you graduate after your senior year. And that's the most dramatic difference, obviously, but sophomore to graduation, junior, senior, etc. It works the same way. You have interest that is accumulating during the in-school deferment. With subsidized loans, the government pays that money. But if it's an unsubsidized loan, you pay it. And what happens is that interest accrues during the in-school deferment. And once you graduate, once it falls due, all of that accrued interest, what's called capitalizes or rolls into the principal, and your loan balance goes up. So you end up owing more than what you originally borrowed. So you don't want too much sticker shock. So as I said, take the subsidized loans first and then the unsubsidized loans. There's a video on my YouTube channel, richardsonlawoffices.tv, and articles on my website, richardsonlawoffices.com, that talk about the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan. So there's that. So then there's loans from your state or school. Now, look at the loans from the school. There's a federal program called the Perkins Loan Program that may be going away, but it's a loan where the school has a pool of money that they can lend out, and they administer the loan later, but it's still under the federal umbrella. Now, there are New Jersey class loans, and again, we're here in New Jersey, but I recommend before you look at New Jersey class loans, if there's a gap between the cost of attendance and the maximum amount you have from all other sources, scholarships, grants, work-study, Stafford loans to the student. If there's a gap, there's something called a Parent Plus loan, in which the parents, if you parents are out there, you're willing to do that. Not everybody has parents that are in a position to borrow money. Sometimes the students are on their own. That money isn't available to them. But if at all possible, parents get a Parent Plus loan, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, about why that's better. Again, the same repayment plans and advantages of a federal loan that a student would have. Now, after that, then you're really left with private loans under either a New Jersey class loan, or if you're not New Jersey, something that your state may offer, or just a private loan from a bank. Private loans, as we'll get into, don't have a lot of the advantages of federal loans, but that would be your last resort. Talking about leverage your federal programs first, I talked about why you should go with that first. Here's why. There are several reasons why federal loans are really the best way to go. First, you're in school deferment. Remember, we talked about that. Interest may accrue on that, but you don't have to repay it while you're in school. New Jersey class loans, depending upon the terms, private loans, depending upon the terms, can fall due still while you're in school. So be careful in looking at the terms. If you don't go with something federal, be careful of the terms in the note to see whether they offer some sort of in-school deferment and how interest works and capitalization and everything else. So in-school deferment. Interest rates. Interest rates on federal loans tend to be much cheaper than private loans. Private loans usually start around 8% and go up from there. 8 to 10% can be even higher depending on, and they're credit based, so it depends upon your credit rating. And that can be an issue. So overall, from an interest standpoint, federal loans are cheaper. That may not make a difference with some of the repayment plans they have, which I'll get into in a minute, but overall, interest rates are lower. The loan qualifications. Most loans do not require a credit check, especially the Stafford loans for the students. They're need-based. All right. Parent Plus loans, yes, there's a credit check, but they have more flexible credit standards. And there's even an argument to say if your parents are denied a Parent Plus loan, you may have the ability to get more money from the Stafford program. So usually there isn't a credit check. For the student loans, there's no cosigner. Forbearance and deferment. Okay. I don't really recommend this when you get out of school because I think you're just kicking the can further down the road. But there are instances of deferment or forbearance where you can enter into a period of time, 1 year at a time, usually a maximum of 3, so it doesn't last forever, in which you don't have to make payments. If you have a choice between a forbearance and a deferment, and that's a topic for another day, and there's lots of videos on my YouTube channel and articles on my website about forbearances and deferments and how they work. Choose a deferment first, okay? The reason for that is if you have to get a deferment on a Stafford loan and it's subsidized, okay, then interest gets paid during the deferment by the federal government, does not capitalize. Now, if you have an unsubsidized loan during a deferment, it'll still capitalize. But if you go to a forbearance, doesn't matter what kind of loan you have, if you're in a forbearance, the interest will accrue and capitalize. So, but they still have those programs. If you're going to go with a private loan, something other than federal, again, look at the terms of the note to see what they have, just in case down the road in issues of deferments and forbearances. I already talked about subsidized loans as an advantage. And there's also loan forgiveness, finally. The federal loans have income-driven repayment plans, and it depends upon the type of loan, whether you took it out as a student as a Stafford loan or whether it's a Parent Plus loan, what income-driven repayment plans are available. But the way they work is they track with your income. So you take your adjusted gross income from the previous tax year or some other proof of income, certify your family size, and they look at your loan balances and the interest rates, and they come up with a monthly payment. And if that payment is capped at a certain percentage of your available disposable income according to their calculations. Now that cap can be anywhere 10 to 15% depending upon the repayment plan you're in. But it can be great. It can track with your income. It can make it more affordable. And as long as you're in an income-driven repayment plan, the interest may accrue, but it ultimately will not capitalize. You will either end up paying off the loan, or if you get to a maximum of 20 or 25 years, again, depending upon the plan, income-driven repayment plan that you have, any balance will be discharged, wiped out. Now, there may be a tax consequence to it. Under our current tax laws, the federal government considers any debt that's forgiven as income that's taxable. That may change if Congress changes the tax laws, but just be aware that that's available. But in the meantime, you're getting an affordable payment. And if interest continues to accrue and ultimately gets wiped out, well, you can deal with the taxes, but at least you're making an affordable payment that allows you to have a better life post-graduation. If you go into the public sector, if you get a full-time job with a public sector entity, with a charity or qualified nonprofit working full-time, there's the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And there's more information on that on my website and videos. I had a previous lunch with a lawyer talking about repayment strategies. But that's available. And that, if you make 120 payments while working full-time for a qualified employer, and you apply for and receive the discharge while so employed, the balance is discharged after 120 payments, tax-free. Great program, okay? Great for teachers, for lawyers, or for doctors who work for a public entity or a nonprofit hospital or something like that. Great things to look into. All right, so great programs. That's why you want to go with Federal First. Now, so that's really it for coming up with a great strategy. Obviously, from what you can see in doing this, you're really there's no guarantee that you're not going to graduate with student loan debt. Okay, it depends on too many factors, as I'm sure you understand. But by following these guidelines, by doing this, I believe you have the best chance of graduating with a minimal amount of debt. And remember, choose an affordable school. Okay, that's a big part of all of it. That's a choice you make now before you go to school that can affect you 2-4 years later, or you go to graduate school after that. Okay, so bear that in mind. Now, one bonus tip before I leave you, okay, and let you get back to lunch. If you may be the parent of a child who is not a senior, not already in college. Maybe they're a freshman or sophomore in high school, or maybe they're in middle school. All right, it's never too early to start the planning process, and the U.S. Department of Education encourages that, and they have something called the FAFSA Forecaster. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes or in the comments below this video, and you can see what you can click on that, and that helps you get an idea of what you might qualify for down the road, as far as a little advance notice, a little more advanced planning. So that's it for October's issue of Lunch with a Lawyer. I hope you found it informative. If you do, I'd appreciate it. Please hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. That someone did that earlier, and thank you again. That helps share that with the people with your friends. So thumbs up if you like it. Share it. Okay, if you see this, share it on Facebook. Okay, tweet it. Let people know. Let your friends know. Maybe you know somebody who might be interested in this as well. You have a friend whose children's going to college and might benefit from this. Share the video. Okay. If you see this on YouTube, like it. Hit that thumbs up button. Again, that helps with search rankings. Help other people to find this video. And it'll be posted to richardsonlawoffices.tv, my YouTube channel. And if you like not only this video, but you like the content of the YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe. So that's it. Hit the subscribe button and give advance notice when everything new is posted. That's it. I'll let you get back to lunch and back to work, unfortunately, but hopefully you learned something new. So, thanks, and I'll see you next month.